Afternoon, everyone. We are gonna get right into it today. So if you've been watching the channel, you know I'm building this S10 here. It's pretty rowdy. Last video, or a couple videos ago, I pulled out the old control arms, which are junk. They're nasty, factory, a little rusty, just all around junk. Here we got us a nice fancy box from UMI Performance. Very fancy front control arms and some rowdy coilovers for the front. As you can see here, they're proudly made in the USA, and we are always big fans of that. Before I get started on the install, I'm going to go ahead and cut this open and do a little unboxing for you guys. Alright, we're going to go ahead and open this one first. Okay, I was wrong on that one. These are the upper control arms and ball joints. I thought they were going to be the coilovers, and these came with the instructions for the installation. And these guys, which I'm not 100% sure, they might be the spring. I think they're the spring thing that goes around this. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to make sure. I've never done a set of control arms before. Anywho, these are very fancy. Very happy with these. Of course, they had red and black options. And though the black would match the frame a little bit better, I went with red because it wasn't any more expensive and it looks awesome. So that's where we're at with that. Yeah, I love it. I think it looks sweet. So this must be lower arms and coilovers. So let's get to opening that. Well, here are the lower control arms, which were in that other box. It looks like we might have a problem because there were no coilovers in either of these boxes. So looks like we might, yeah, might have to find those coilovers, which is frustrating because I paid for them and they were not very cheap. So gonna have to look for the coilovers, I guess. Anywho, these are the lowers. They look pretty sweet. Got the ball joints on them. Same fancy red color. Yeah, pretty slick. Got the stops and everything. And yeah, they look pretty nice. Got the fancy bushings. Came with a parts bag. A couple stickers. Stickers are good. I like stickers. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Tomorrow morning when I got a little bit more light, I'll lay these control arms down by the old control arms, and you can see how much better they look. They're significantly better. Even though they're heavy duty, they're a lot lighter, and these will be able to take a lot more abuse, whether it be it'll be a lot better for turning aggressively or recovering if I'm drag racing and I got to make a sharp turn or something. The handling will be better, and when we're doing them fat wheelies and land with some force, these are going to be able to take it. So those are all good things. The only bad thing is that I don't have my darn coilovers, and I'm going to have to find out where those are. So here we are back again, next day. A little sloppier, but a little brighter. So went ahead and laid out the old versus the new on these control arms here. These are the upper control arms up top, and these are the lower control arms down on the bottom. Now you can see those new ones are significantly nicer. So yeah, without further ado, go ahead and start trying to put those on. Alright, so the shock mounts are bolted onto the lower control arms. They're not all the way tightened down because you end up pulling this one and letting this swing down to get the shock in once it's installed. I think now, I'll double check my instrucciones here, but I believe it's time to mount the upper and lowers to the frame. Oh, I also, because the GM S10 and S15, GMC S15 use the G-body style control arms. So when you buy a kit for an S10 or an S15, you're gonna get the G-body style kit unless it's an S10 specific kit. And if you get G-body kit, you'll most likely have to knock out these sleeves right here and replace them with a larger bore, which is not that hard with these Delrin bushings. It just slid right out. I didn't have to use a press or anything. But as you can see, these guys here, this is the one that came with these UMIs. If you were to use that factory bolt, it does not fit in that G-body size sleeve. So, but no big deal, they include the S10 sleeve and it fits perfectly. So let's go ahead and get these hanging off the truck. So the springs and shocks did end up showing up on time, so I'll get those assembled real quick and then try and get them thrown in the car. Coilovers are assembled and ready to go. I believe since I'm definitely not going back with these original brakes, I'm going to upgrade to these Willwood brakes, and those call for you to cut off this the old mount. So I may go ahead and chop those mounts off the spindles now, and so I can get these spindles back in. Alright, so I got the rotors back off the spindles. And for most kits, you just have to cut here and here. That'll just get that out of the way. And then you reuse the dust cover bolts as the caliper mounts. or caliper mount holes. So we're gonna go ahead and get those chopped so that I don't have to do this later, pull these back out of the car. We got the spindles modified, the old mounts are chopped off. They're about ready to go onto the control arms. Alright, so I got the passenger side coilover at least started up here at the top. This one pretty much fought me. I had a time lapse going, but I'm gonna end up not using it. It fought me pretty much the whole way, or for a while there, because of the old spring retainer from the factory spring was just slightly had too thin of an ID, so I had to clearance it, and it took a long time. There's no room up there to get anything to cut. I don't have any sanding or grinding things for my Dremel, so I ended up having to pry all the wall of the retainer back with vice grips. It was very difficult. It took forever, but it's in there and started, so I'm going to go ahead and get this one finished up, then move to the other side, and hopefully that one's not as hard. Basically what you do, you get it hanging from the top here, get that nut all situated, and then you'll run this bolt at the bottom through this center of the spring mount, and then swing that over and bolt it in here, right here. Might be a little challenging. I'll probably have to end up using a jack to jack up this arm and let it swing over, so it'll be interesting. We'll see. I'll also definitely lower the spring all the way down so that it fights me as little as possible. But yeah, let's get to it. A little bit later in the day, but I apologize for the camera dying. So we got them in. I also chucked the old rotors on to keep the spindles from rusting while I wait on the Willwoods. Anywho, the camera died during the time lapse, so I don't really know how far I showed you on the time lapse, but basically I got both sides, the springs all the way in. They're mounted up here at the top. Got the lock nuts on. There's a few things I need to run through, tighten some bolts and stuff, but for the most part, they're on, ready to go. I definitely need to grease everything and check all the foot-pounds, check all the torques on all the bolts, make sure everything's good and ready to go. But then after that, I'll be ready to start trying to find some kind of steering and some kind of brakes. Once I change this steering for a manual drag race steering box and swap these brakes out for a new, better brake kit, we will be ready for an engine. So we are close. We are so close. It's been years. If you're interested in seeing the build, seeing how it ends up and continuing on with it, feel free to subscribe, leave a like if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.